Hey there, JB. Guess what? It's Tuesday. So guys, I'm back. I missed you guys. I hope you guys missed me. Now that I'm done all the crazy school stuff and I'm just working a couple of small jobs and just stuff like that, I'll be back on a regular basis for regular weekly uploads. Tuesdays, you can look forward to it again. Going over the usual stuff I go over. Nerdy news, philosophical ideas, and just critical thinking on things like that. Rambling occasionally, which is what this is right now, but it'll get into something a little bit interesting in a few minutes, just getting that all the way. More importantly, 109 subscribers. Oh, that was like the most anticlimactic popper ever. I pulled the string and nothing came out. It's still smoking a little bit. I really hope it's not like on fire on the inside. That would really suck. I'm gonna go put this in a sink. I think it's actually on fire on the inside. Cheap party poppers. You get what you pay for, I suppose. So today we're gonna go over something a little bit different. Not really different, but a little bit different. And that's the difference between educational and informational. Now this can apply to about 101 different things, and it can range from things like video games, it can range from things like YouTube channels, not unlike this one incidentally. This one kind of falls under the informational, not educational, but that aside. And more importantly, the thing I often critically look at, which is the education system in North America, specifically Canada. I assume it's very similar to the United States. I mean, they're literally just across the big river, so how different could it possibly be? So let's start by defining the differences between education and information. Now, understandably, the definition in a dictionary is only part of a definition. It's established by a select group of people who have a very strict view on how words should and should not be defined. So a definition is not the be-all, end-all of an understanding. That's why I also look at things like Urban Dictionary, because that's more of a ground-level sort of understanding of the words, and I took that into consideration while defining these definitions. So when it comes to education, it can generally be described as the following: an act of learning or teaching of general knowledge and reasoning skills, as well as the ability to improve judgment, physical, and moral logic to prepare oneself for a more mature life. And that's about 4 or 5 different definitions. Some of them are encyclopedias, some of them are online, all put together into one general idea. Those are my words. So let's take a moment to define information. And this is more applicable to a lot of things, like the education system in general. Facts about a situation, person, event, or the like, achieved through research, study, and communication. Now, if that sounds familiar, that probably sounds like most of your core classes in elementary school and high school. The idea that you take information and then you memorize it, then spit it out based on certain criteria of things. History class comes to mind. You don't actually learn about the ideas behind what was going on in history. You learn about who did this when, what was this, why is this significant, move on. My favorite definition comes from this book here, and honestly the definition for information reads not unlike what our education system has become today. Just gotta find it again. Data fed to a machine. Now, clarification here. I don't blame teachers. I don't blame students, and for the most part, I don't completely blame the school board. Let's go back to one of the earlier lines I read for you guys and kind of pick apart that a little bit and see where we're getting at. As well as the ability to improve judgment, physical, and moral logic to prepare oneself for a more mature life. Most classes I've taken in my life have failed to do so. Most classes I've taken in my life, and I'm looking at core classes here, you know, your requirements. Things that if you don't take them, you don't graduate high school. I'm talking about things like math, English, history in grade 10 for myself, your sciences in grade 9 and 10. Those aren't really broadening your judgment, physical, and moral logic. Those aren't really preparing oneself for a more mature life. Those are preparing oneself for university, for college. Those are courses that specifically focus on, here's the information you need to take this program, which unfortunately isn't what education should be about. What I'm trying to get at here is that education is not about broadening your moral and your philosophical views on life, or even your logic and reasoning. It's about memorizing information so you can go to college and university. And really, for an education system, for the public, that's not good enough. It's fine if we call it the informational system, which really is what it is for the most part. If you want to make it an educational system, you have to be able to appreciate that a lot of the people who need this information, people who are going out into the real world because they lack the ability, the financing, any of that stuff to go to post-secondary. There are a lot of people out there who lack that sort of ability because they were born into low financial housing situation, they live in areas that aren't easily accessible to go to university, post-secondary, anything like that. People who don't want to go to post-secondary, and we can't abandon those people to just a half-assed education system because they don't want to pay tens of thousands of dollars to get a proper education. Because this perpetuates things like narrow-mindedness, ignorance. This is what leads to things like social prejudice, failure to understand other people, to think critically, to think empathetically. This is a failing on the part of education to actually cause us to not memorize details about things. Memorizing details about things is fine, but it isn't what education should be. Education should be teaching you how to think more critically about the world and everyone inside of it. When we want these social issues to change, and I'm sure we've all seen these social issues all over the world, we understand that it's not good enough that you're memorizing details to put out on a piece of paper so you can go to post-secondary. It's just not good enough. We need to start reevaluating what school is and what it's supposed to be. Just questions I have on these things. I don't pretend to have answers on them. I am working on answers for them, but it's going to be an uphill battle. Anything you guys can shoot my way for, like, interesting articles you guys have read that looks into these things, defense for the education system. If you think the education system is doing great, cool. I want to hear what you think, because if I'm wrong, and I would want to know if I'm wrong, I need to read other viewpoints so I can start looking at things a different way. So just some views on that, and as always, if you like this video, leave a big old thumbs up. If you didn't like it, leave a big old thumbs down. Be sure to check on Tuesdays when I upload, and Fridays when Sarah uploads. She says she has an idea for a video this week. It's about an anime she watched, so it's going to be kind of a critical analysis, review sort of arrangement by sounds of things. And once again, a huge thank you guys for the subscriptions. 109 is a huge number. We've been doing this for a year and 2 months, I think it is. So the fact that we've hit that big is honestly quite mind-blowing. Thanks you guys for sticking around. And as always, TFN, ta-ta for now.